secretly learned this from my previous OTP. Have you ever been in a situation whereby you find yourself having this contract? It's a 12-pager. You do not understand whatever that's written on it. However, you're trying to wrap your mind around it because you're going to be spending around 2 million, sometimes 800,000. But now the question is, am I signing to the right deal? Okay, before we actually go anywhere, the first thing that I'd like to say is that remember that offer to purchase is always negotiable. So anything that's written on the offer to purchase, it's not a must that you need to adhere to those things. I think one of the most important things, or sometimes you get scared to say that, am I able to negotiate? Or for instance, if there is something wrong with your property and you're trying to sell that property, and now you're thinking to yourself that, okay, how do I make sure that the buyer doesn't come back and say that I need to fix this? Remember, you need to have that on contract. Whatever you want needs to be on contract. And remember, the offer to purchase only speaks about the immovable things. So if you see a generator on the property and you thought that that generator is coming through with the house, you need to understand that if it's not on the offer to purchase, it's still the owner's. Remember, offer to purchase is only for the immovable things on that particular property.
Level, what you mentioned, that offer to purchase is not only one way, it's actually a two-way. A word came up, which is suspensive conditions. So suspensive conditions, what we're saying is that yes, this offer to purchase is proposing this from the seller. The buyer does have the right to actually include some of the things. But you know, the thing about the offer to purchase, right, and also your attorney, is that a lot of people are now thinking that when I'm buying, should I get an attorney? Let's really paint this picture in terms of what happens. So now you as the seller, you want to list your property. The first person that you're calling is your estate agent.
Yes.
So now the estate agent already has attorneys that they've worked with previously, right? And what I've learned with offer to purchases is that they are not all the same, depending again on which company you come from. So as a result, it's very important for us not to use a one blanket system when it comes to the offer to purchase, by assuming that I've bought 5 properties and it was a walk in the park, so even on the 6th one it's most probably the same. If you did pay special attention to it, you'd notice that it is not the same. And here's the thing, as the years go by and the laws change, even offer to purchases, they also change. So I would say that it's very important, and it's time for us as first time buyers, property investors, that we have attorneys, even if I as the buyer am not the one who's coming with the estate agent that has the attorney. Reason why I'm saying that is that when I come through with my conveyancer, which is the property lawyer, we then able to give them this contract and say that, can you please have a look at it and let us look in terms of, am I protected as the buyer?
Now, speaking about protection, man,
yeah,
how do you actually go about that situation whereby someone is saying that they are going to be using their attorneys and you also want to use your attorney? Because now remember, now the sale is not coming together. One is pushing that way and the other one is pushing that way. Now, most of the time we think that the thing that might break the deal is because of the people not agreeing on the
price.
On the price.
Yeah.
But now the problem is that now it's not even the price. Both of us are agreeing on the price. However, one is saying that they want to use their attorney and the other one is saying that they also want to use their attorney.
Man, it's funny that you raised this, because that's the situation that we're in right now, in terms of someone is coming through and saying that, guys, I want to really use my attorney. And then now here's the thing, right? It depends on who is willing to step down. So when I'm saying who's willing to step down, is that as the seller, if you had a streamline of other buyers, I'll tell that person that go use your attorney elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right? It's simple as that. But now, if you do not have a streamline of buyers, and then this buyer is coming through and saying that, you know what, I want it at this price and I'm going to use my attorney. Now, here's the trick though. You can't just say that all is well. At the same time, you'd want to get your attorney involved somewhere, somehow, so that your interests are best protected. As I did mention that as sellers, sometimes as sellers, we are desperate to sell because I've held on to this property for so long. So it's really urgent for us to take precautions, in a sense whereby let us get experts. I'm always saying that do not be a fan, or do not be that guy who wants to save that 1,000 or that 100 rand, and you do not want to get experts on your team, because you will get burnt. And now when you get burnt, remember something, that they involve their conveyancer, their property lawyer. So now how are you going to be assisted?
I really need everybody to understand the difference between these two. Both are defects, meaning that both something wrong is going on, right? So with your patent defects, it's more of things that we can actually see with your naked eye, right?
Okay.
So if you go into a property and you're seeing a crack, of course, it's a patent defect because you can actually see with your eye. If maybe, let's say there's, let's say a broken window, or maybe the door is not actually working well, so that means that that's a patent defect because you can actually see with your eye. Now, if we're going towards latent, this is where it becomes a bit difficult, right? Now, latent defects would be your roof. So if there is a leak going on the roof, then you have a bit of a problem. Now, if there's a problem on the roof, in terms of there's a leakage going on the roof, that means that that's your problem as the owner, right? You need to have disclosed that. And now, let's also go into other ones, right? Now, like rusted pipes. If there's rusted pipes, then chances are that's a latent defect because it's just underground.
Yeah.
Now the question is that does the owner know about this? If the owner knows about this, then it becomes a problem. However, if the owner doesn't know, if the owner doesn't know about this, then I don't know, man. That's where we need to actually prove that did the owner know or did the owner not know. It becomes really hard for us to actually prove that.
Lebo, I'd like to ask something, right? You talked about leaks. And this is a hack that we'd like to give to all of our viewers that have actually watched until this far.
Yeah.
In terms of a leakage, when it rains, how can one, especially as a buyer, notice that? Maybe if you can give us tips, because we heard that you've reviewed a couple of properties.
So when you're looking at leakages, right?
Yeah.
The most important part is to look at the ceiling.
Okay.
So on the ceiling, most of the time when there's a leak, it leaves a stain, right? It becomes some sort of like a cream white stain once it actually dries up.
Yeah.
Now, if that's on the roof or on the ceiling already, you can actually identify or pick that up that there is something wrong on the leakage. Now, sometimes what they do say is that there was a leakage, however, it has been fixed. Now, that's something to actually consider, that if it was actually fixed, can we put that on writing that it was fixed and there is no problem with the leakage anymore? Because now I do know sometimes it does happen that people say that no, we fixed it recently, however they didn't actually fix it well. Now it becomes your problem when you do actually take the property.
Yeah. And also looking at walls, guys. So when you're looking at your wall, it has a certain color. Now when you start looking at the paint color whereby it becomes darker in a certain spot, you need to then have a look or feel it, or there's actually something, we're going to post it right here. Just buy this, and then you just put it there by the wall, and then it will tell you in terms of the humidity within that wall. And we need to start investing in ourselves, guys. We need to really start taking this thing serious, because I was having a conversation with someone who reached out to us from overseas, and the thing about looking at property investing in overseas and buying properties, they take it serious to a point whereby when they go viewing, they go with contractors. And now for us, it's more of, must I really pay 1.5 every time? What's your take on that, bro?
Ah man, just pay that 1,500, bro.
Yeah.
Because now you're asking yourself that if I don't pay that 1,500 and I sign on the offer to purchase, this basically means that I'm exposing myself to this particular property. Now, if it does happen that something comes through later on that costs around 50,000, at least if I had paid that 1,000, I was able to negotiate it on the purchase price. 100%. However, now if you didn't negotiate it on the purchase price, and on this other side you already have this property, now it becomes your problem that you have to fix.
Last but not least, level gentleman's shake, baba. Handshake, gentleman's handshake. What do they call it? Gentleman's
shake, whatever. You guys know it.
So this one happens when one buyer, I know Lebo, and this is very common. I know Lebo, so I'm like, Lebza, I've got a property, brother, so I'm selling it, and you know what? We can get away by not paying estate agent. We can get away by also not paying not paying transfer. Some guys want to get away with it by typing their own offer to purchase. Because remember now, when I'm coming with an offer to purchase, it's a legally binding document. Now, if I know Lebo and I'm like, Lebza, let's go to Google. There we go. Pa. Lebza. Then we're done. Guys, we need to be careful, because if something does happen, we're talking about a transaction that's about couple of hundred thousands. And now it's a legally binding document between a buyer and a seller. Now, if we're running away from getting a conveyancer, a property lawyer, or an estate agent company, that will make sure that the offer to purchase it's in place. Because remember, and what usually happens is that when I'm selling to my brother, when I'm selling to a friend, is that I'm running away from estate agents. But then I need to remember in terms of when estate agent is involved, they are the linking bridge between the buyer and the seller. Yes, as much as they are appointed by the seller, as much as they are appointed by the seller, they need to still make sure that if anything does happen, they are also protected. So now we removed the estate agent from the equation, and now through us removing the estate agent from the equation, we need to understand now both parties are exposed. And that's where the offer to purchase comes in, the power of the offer to purchase, because it protects people as it's a legally binding document. So please be sure when it comes to those handshake deals that there is a formal document that is recognized and that will stand in the court of law.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't even end there now. People also say that, no, I agree that I'll fix this door once the money is actually on my side. And then when it happens that the money comes on my side, now I'm a different person and I'm telling you that I don't have any money anymore. Now that gentleman shake can put you in a huge problem. So just make sure that any negotiations that take place is written down and you do have it on black and white, so that after the transaction actually happens, we know that we have it on document, man.
So on the 11th of November, we will not be wearing ties, Baba. Make sure that you are wearing your sports fit, because we are hosting a property picnic whereby we will be networking, and I'm so happy about people that will be there, because we're inviting estate agents, we're inviting beginner property investors, we're inviting expert property investors and other experts within the field, so that we can network.
Man, I'm excited for what's going to go on, because number one, we're going to be networking. Everybody's going to be coming through together, really understanding what we are actually doing together and how can we merge together and work together. And then we will be playing a property investing game whereby you're going to be learning more about property investing and how to maneuver around the game. And now the last one will just be stretching our muscles just a bit, man. So hoping to see you there, man.
Just like a pro
with no doubt. Cheers.